In this video, we'll look at the top performing stocks for the year as of today and what are their characteristics. The idea behind that is to find similar stocks in the next 7 months, because what has worked in the last 5 months, the characteristics of the stocks which made the biggest move, if you know that, then you look for a similar kind of a thing in stocks to find, because you want to be in the fastest moving stocks, and that's the key to making money in the market. You don't want to be sitting in laggards. So this particular video is going to show you the top 100 stocks which have performed the best as of today, starting from the first day of trading in 2017, and what are their common characteristics and what kind of scans can find it, what kind of things which you need to focus on. So let's dig in and let's start looking at it. In order to do that, I'm using Telechart software. In Telechart software, I have a scan which is a liquidity universe, which is basically a universe of stocks, which is all the common stocks which trade in the US stock market, the ETFs which trade in the US market, and the ADRs or the foreign stocks which trade in the US market. And on that, I applied a condition which is liquidity is above 100,000 for the last 3 days, because I don't want to look at illiquid stock or stocks which are difficult to have a sizable position in. And I looked at price above 1. So once you have this particular list, you have 3,249 stocks in this particular list. Let's sort it by YTD. In order to sort it by YTD, what you can do is you can just insert a column, and if you search for YTD, this is a system criteria, YTD percent change, which basically looks at percent change from the first trading day of this year, which was I think 3rd of January. So it will look at price percent change from 3rd of January to today. And let's sort it by this column. Once you sort it by this column, what you see is you see that this was the number 1 ranked stock. Obviously, this is a buyout. So that's like, even this one is a buyout. So if you keep going down and keep looking at the 100 stocks, these are the stocks which made the biggest move in the market beginning of the year. Now, why do you want to study this? Because if these are the stocks which are making the biggest move, and if you know the characteristics of the stocks, or if you know what kind of stocks made a big move and what kind of stocks make big move, and if you have a model of stocks which make big moves, then you look for the same thing in stock which you're buying today, because you want to find the similar kind of a stock for the next 7 months. So that's basically the idea. So what I'm going to do is, in order to simplify this task, and I'm going to take the top 100 stocks here. So this is 73, so this is 85, 9900. So this is the 100th ranked stock, right? So we flag all symbols about this. So you have 100 stocks, this copy 100 stocks. I'm going to put it into a list YTD 100, and which will allow you to do analysis on it very quickly. So you have YTD 100, and this is a list of stocks which has made the biggest move. Now let's start and look at sorting it by different parameters to see what really is the really what you should be looking at. Should you be buying high price stocks? A lot of people will tell you don't buy stocks below $12, or don't buy stocks below $15, or some people will tell you you should only buy stocks which are lower price. So what is really the truth? Like, if you find that like lower priced stocks make bigger move, then you focus on lower price stocks. If you find that the highest price stocks or the higher price stocks make bigger move, then you focus on that. And also remember that like these prices, what you will see today, are after that stock having made a big move. But let's sort it by price. And if you sort it by price, what you'll see is that there are only 6 stocks which are priced above 100 in this. Bulk of the stocks, like let's look at like say the 80% rule, in the sense, look, and whatever is here is like the top 20%, and whatever is below this, you'll see that 80% of the stocks were priced below probably 30 before their move. So, and if you look at like say the bulk of the stocks, which is like 60% of the stocks, were priced below 20. So if you want to find a big moving stock, or a stock which is likely to make a big move, obviously you need to start looking at stocks below 20. I would say like more likely a stock which has a price below 15 is likely to make a bigger move than a stock which has a price above 15. So that's what this data shows, because the lower price stocks have a higher volatility, or when they make a move, they make a bigger move. So that's, if you have a smaller account, this is a very important information which you have, that it can allow you to focus on stocks which are lower price stocks, because that is the stock which makes a bigger move. So that's one of the criteria which you can look at it. Now, many times you will hear things like, look, and float is important, or lower float stocks makes bigger moves. So if you insert a column for float, which again you can find latest float. So if you have latest float and we add it as a value column, and let's look at what is the float of these stocks, and you will find that only 5 stocks has 100 million plus float. So obviously, which tells you that, look, and anything which has 100 million plus float should be your last priority, or it has lower potential probability of making a big move. Anything which is below 50 million is probably better option if you're looking at float as a criteria. And if you really look at it, anything below 25 million is ideal, because most of the stocks, like 50% of the stocks, had like float below 50 million, but float below 25 million. So anything below 25 million is better option. Some of these don't have like a float because they are Chinese ADR, or this is a Brazilian stock, so it will not be. But like, as a thumb rule, if you're looking for bigger moves, look for stocks with lower float. That's another criteria which you can look at it. Then let's look at basically a sector for these stocks, because what sectors do they really come from, because that's important. Do they come from technology or whatever? Like, say if you put an industry here and sort it by industry here, okay, what you'll find is amongst these 100 stocks, the biggest group probably is biotechnology. You'll see that all these are biotechnology stocks. Like, you'll see that if I click all these, like say flag all symbols about this item, and take out these, some of these which are not biotechnology stocks, and the other things which is like, these are all related to drugs. So again, if you take all these which are related to drugs stocks, because they fall in the similar kind of category, drug manufacturer. Okay, now obviously you can say, okay, look, this is specific to this particular time period, but you can run this particular study over a period of time, and you'll find more or less the similar thing, that some of the biggest moving stocks in the market, like out of these 100 stocks, if you look at it, 41 were from the drug, biotechnology, medical sector. So the one of the category, or the one of the sectors which is primarily going to dominate most of the big moves in the market is going to be biotechnology stocks. So if you like decide, I'm not going to trade biotechnology stocks, by choice you have decided not to be in a sector which is the biggest moving sector. So think about it. And then the other categories are basically, technology will be the second largest category. You'll see most of the other stocks, these are all technology stocks. So that's another way of looking at it. But like, one of the important things which you have to remember is that biotechnology sector will be the biggest movers most of the time, especially if you look at the last 10 years of data like this. Every say 6 months, or every 3 months, or 1 month, 1 year, you will find that biotechnology or the drug related stock, which is similar category to biotechnology in the sense they are like developmental stage companies, are the largest group of stocks which will make the biggest move in the shortest period of time. So these are ideal candidate for swing trading, is what really the message from that particular kind of an analysis is. So if you remove this for like time being, now you will hear, like if you have been in the market for some years, you would have heard about things like IBD 50 and IBD, which is very popular. And like IBD makes this claim saying that, look, the largest, they have studied the stocks which made the biggest move, and the biggest moving stocks have this characteristic. They had earnings below above this, earnings above that, and all kinds of claims they made. Or they say, okay, look, and it had an EPS rating above that. So let's try and find out, look at for this particular set of stocks, and this is reality. This is not something study which you are like based on some data which we don't know about. This is actual number of stocks. These are the top 100 stocks as of date. So let's look at a list which is very popular, which is IBD 50. So let's look at IBD 50. These are the 50 stocks in IBD 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flag all symbols in this list, and let's see out of the 100 stocks which made the biggest move, okay, how many were IBD stocks. Now out of these 100 stocks which made the biggest move, only 5 stocks were from the IBD 50. So if you focus only on IBD 50, you're likely to only focus on 10% of the stocks which make a big move. You're going to give up 90% of the opportunity, and some of the biggest winning stocks will have, in fact, a very see, some of these are like, these are ranked by YTD, and you'll see that most of the IBD stocks are not even in the top 10 or top 50. They are like in the bottom 50. So that tells you, look, kind of where to put your money on, or where to focus on, and how much is the validity of certain claims which are made in the market saying that the biggest winning stocks come from this, that, and that. The reality is in front of you in terms of what is this, okay? The other way, then, like if you say, look, at IBD 50 is too restrictive, then one of the things which the IBD kind of a methodology says is focus on stocks which have IBD rating above 85 EPS and 85 relative strength, which will be basically the stocks which are the best growth characteristics. So if that is the case, I run a scan and I have these stocks which meet that criteria. They are like an IBD rating of EPS above 85, and they have IBD relative strength above 85, and they are within 15% of 52-week high. And these are 266 stocks. So obviously, like there should be more stock in that list if that claim is true, or if really having high relative strength and high EPS rating drives stock to make big moves, then you should find a lot many stocks in our YTD 100 list. So let's look at our YTD 100 list. With that 266 stocks we actually focused on, what do you see? Only 12 stocks out of that 266 are in the YTD 100 stocks. So again, if you're just focusing on like IBD kind of stocks, which is IBD 50 or IBD 85, what you're going to do end up is you're going to give up 88% of the opportunity in the market. That's the way to look at it. So that's like basically, again, which tells you that, look, kind of where to focus your money on, or what should be the criteria you should be looking at. Okay. Now, because there are so many lists and everybody comes out with list, there's a list which is published on this public blog called Stockbee 50, if you see. This is published every day, and I've been publishing it for many months now, or years probably. So what I did is I copied the IBD or the Stockbee 50 stocks, all these stocks which are showing up here, which is like around 104, but there are duplicates because this is a different time frame, and I put it in one watch list. Okay. Now, where is this? This is like Stockbee 50. Okay, 67 stocks when you take out the duplication in that particular list are there. So let's play the same exercise. So you flag all symbols in list. Okay. Now remember, you have only 67 stocks versus like 100 stocks we are going to look at. What do you see? Out of the 100 stocks, if you use the IBD, the Stockbee 50 list, you'll find 44% of the stocks. So that tells you something, like basically, if you want to find stocks which are making bigger move, you're better off looking at a list like this than IBD 85 or IBD 50, and you can do these studies yourself. Okay, so if that is the case, what is it that is driving this stock, and what is it that from a trading perspective you can do to find stocks like this? What is the defining characteristic of this stock which you can, or the factor which you need to look at, which is going to give you heads up that this stock is likely to make a big move? If it is not in its growth, or if it is not in its fundamentals, and you can run this test different ways by whatever catches your fancy. You can say, look, and sort it by P and look at if these are all low P stocks, and you can do that, but it is not going to be like, and you're going to find anything different than what I have shown. 10% of the stock might be having low P. So if you want to find the big winners, what is the number one criteria which you need to look at it? And obviously, if you know that, then you can find stocks like this. And one of the easiest way to find them is to focus on stocks with trend intensity above 105. When the stock started moves, they all this is the wrong example because it's but like see stock had a trend intensity above 105, or basically in other words, if you want to find stocks, start focusing on stocks which meet the trend intensity criteria, which is basically when they acquire momentum, because you are better off focusing on a stock with momentum as a characteristic rather than focusing on growth or IBD rating or IBD EPS rating or things like that. If a stock has a momentum, that itself is sufficient criteria for it to be selected for trading. And within that, a stock with a higher momentum, like when a stock breaks out in the first 15-20 days, whichever stock has a higher rating by momentum is a better stock, because that's the stock which is going up at the fastest rate. So at any given time, if you want to focus on only say 50 stocks or 100 stocks, the simplest way you can like eliminate stocks which are not likely to make a big move is by sorting it by trend intensity, which is basically what you can do is you can take this universe of stocks, which is basically and sort it by trend intensity. Okay, you are more likely to find 60-70% of the stocks in the top 100 by using trend intensity rather by using lists. And also understand any one of those tools like IBD and all cost you a lot of money, so you don't need to spend money on subscriptions for that and all that you need to do is like basically in your trading software or whatever scanning tool you're using, use a momentum filter to find stocks. So if you do this study, and you can do this, and this is the second time I've done this video. I've done this video earlier also this year, and previously also I had done videos, similar kind of videos, and you can go back and look at those videos on the Stockbee member site. But the lesson is same, that what is it that you need to focus on if you're looking for biggest winning stocks. One is momentum, second is price. Lower the price, higher is the probability that the stock is going to make a bigger move. The lower price stocks make bigger moves. That's like really borne out by all the studies which you can do. Lower float is good, okay, but float by itself is not really going to give you an answer. Like say you can select stocks with float below 25 million, but that is again going to eliminate 50% of the universe of stocks, so that is not an answer. Similarly, like high short interest, people believe that high short interest stocks make bigger moves, and I can put in a high short interest here and show you that look, and it is not going to help you much, because short as a percentage of float, if I add as a value column, you will see that like these stocks are all over the place. It's not like if I select stocks with high short, because they went up a lot, you will find that like now they have high short interest. But if you look at this particular YTD 100 list here, it's not like the highest float or highest short interest stocks made the biggest moves. Some of them have high short interest, but that's again, like if you say high short interest is about 20%, you're only going to find 20 stocks. So if you just scan for high short interest stock, again you're giving up 80% of the opportunity. So if you want to expand the opportunity which you want to target, basically the number one criteria which you need to scan on, or number one criteria which a stock should have if you want to find the big winners, is momentum or a trend intensity. In our language we call it trend intensity, basically, which is what this particular thing indicates, that the stock has entered a momentum phase, or it has established a momentum, and that's the number one criteria to look for. Second thing, which is like basically, is there any secret indicator which will tell you look when to buy this particular thing? And you can always look at any stocks which have made a big move, started the big move by a 4% breakout. So whenever a stock makes a 4% breakout, this is a stock which is like, if you sort it by YTD and look at each of these stocks, what you will see is that at the beginning of their move there was a 4% breakout. Okay, and this you can confirm for yourself. This is a big move, right? Here is a 4% breakout at the beginning of the move. This is a big move. How did this move start? This move started with series of 4% breakouts. okay, series of 4% breakouts. Okay, if you look at this particular stock, same thing, which you can like the underlying market structure phenomena which you have to understand is that stocks move in momentum bursts. So whenever there is a buying which comes in, like say here, there's a big buying coming, the stock move in the direction of that momentum burst. And that's like, you here again, you had a 4% breakout, and from that it made a 241% move. So the clear thing is that focus on stocks with established trend intensity. This is trend intensity, and within that, stocks which are breaking out. So basically, like if you do the combination of these, like this is a big move, right, to 125%. What happened at the beginning of that move is a 4% breakout. Or even here, there was no 4% breakout for almost like 5-6 months, and a 4% breakout triggered the move, and series of 4% breakout happened. So a simple range expansion scan can get you into some of the biggest winners, as long as they have a certain amount of momentum, which you can calculate in a different way. You can calculate momentum. This is a momentum which is calculated using 65 days. You can do it with various time frames, but if you use a longer time frame, then it will be slower to capture a momentum change, while if you use too small a time frame, then it will create many false signal. But like irrespective of that, what you have to really focus on is a 4% breakout, because 4% breakout is likely to get into a big winners if it is happening, especially after a period when there was not much of an activity or there was no momentum phase in the stock. And that's a signal which you can like use to find stocks like this, because at the beginning of their moves, you'll find, or even swing moves, you have 4% breakouts. Okay, and the other thing which you'll find is that focusing on momentum is better than any other criteria which you can use, like earnings, float. All those other criteria are not going to get you more than 20 or 30 or 40% of the stocks in that top 100 universe, while focusing on 4% breakouts and momentum is likely to increase your probability of getting into these moves, or you're likely to capture many of these moves, which is really what the nature of the market is. It's not something that there is some magic in this indicator, so there's something which is like secret sauce which we found. It's not like, and if that was the case, I would not have talked about it at all. It's like, it's the nature of the market, it's the structure of the market. You can do the study for many years also, and you'll find the same thing. Like here is a stock which is going nowhere, and then what starts the move? The move starts with a 4% breakout. This is a 4% breakout, right? And that's the, whenever this is green, it's basically, it tells you that this particular stocks meets this condition of 4% breakout and volume condition. It's a breakout condition, and the red thing is a breakdown condition, which is basically the stock was down 4% and volume was like, and trend intensity, like whenever, if you find like stocks, if you want to find stocks which make big moves, okay, focus on stocks with trend intensity above 105. Basically, this is an indicator of trend intensity. Basically, what it does is it finds a trend and with a certain speed. So basically, it looks for something which has got a trend intensity above 105, which is a momentum indicator basically. And you are more likely to increase your probability of finding big winners. And that I can show you from each one of these stocks. Like let's go through each one of these stocks, 100 stocks ranked by YTD, and look at it. Look, and your best way to capture them is when the trend intensity goes above 105. That's when they enter the fast phase, and that happens very quickly from a breakout. Like if a stock is going to make a big move, it will quickly gain momentum and it will meet your condition of trend intensity, and then it will make a move. So here, like see here, the stock made a 330% move, and it will be in your trend intensity scan. It should be in your 4% scan during that time frame. Here again, trend intensity told you that it is entering a fast phase. Similarly, stock is entering a fast phase, trend intensity changed, and that's when the stock started making the move. So whenever you're looking at any stocks, look at if it has just crossed trend intensity. That's the ideal candidate, which is your best candidate. See again, like trend intensity is above 105. Once it starts making a big move, here again same thing, here again big thing. See, trend intensity turned green here, and then you could have captured like in a part of the moves. So that's really what you'll see in each one of these stocks, that the best indicator for finding big winners is momentum. There is no other indicator which can beat momentum as an indicator. Here again you'll see the same thing. Some of them are more choppy, but like say you're here again same, you'll see that the trend intensity is about 105, 4% breakout kicked up the moves. So every day your number one focus should be to look at stocks with momentum, one, and B, which are having a breakout, because those are the stocks which are likely to make big moves. A stock doesn't make a big move without a breakout or without signaling a move. Like here is a 4% breakout on this stock with a high volume, and then it made a big move. So if you can get into as many 4% breakout which have a valid setup at the beginning of the move, or when they are just about gone into trend intensity about 105, you will increase your probability of finding a stock which might end up in the top 100 stocks. No other criteria can basically get you into that. As you have seen, using an IBD 50 list is likely to get you into 5% of the stocks which make big moves. Using an IBD 85 is likely to get you into, like say, to probably 10 of those stocks, and they may not be the fastest moving stock. While using a momentum kind of an indicator along with a breakout kind of a strategy, you are likely to get into many of these move. And even if you can't capture them right at the beginning of the move, each one of these moves, if you study them, they have swings within the moves where they set up and make multiple moves, or they have, like say, this is a classic example of that, where stock makes a move. Even if you missed it, like it set up here, it made a move of 32%, here it's set up again and it made a move of like 26%. So stocks do offer swing moves along the dimension, along their path. When they start making big move, here the stock made a big move, but like it offered swing moves or swing opportunities along the way. So if you go through all these 100 stocks, you will find that they will have a trend intensity of 105. So the moment a stock acquires trend intensity of 105, it should be in your target focus area, because those are the stocks which make big moves. And that is simply the way the market works. It's not something which is magical formula which somebody has found or something. All studies of market shows that the stocks which have an established momentum tend to move in the direction of the momentum for 3 to 6 months. So in order to find a stock which is likely to make a big move, first you have to look at stocks which are just about starting momentum. And easiest way to do that is by using something which is like basically something like a TI65, and look at younger stocks. Basically, say if you look at the TI65 scan, if you look at this TI65 scan, basically today you will find that, and what is there in this price is about 3. Liquidity is true, which is stocks has 100,000 plus shares traded, and trend intensity is basically about 105. And you have 768 stocks, which is a lot of stocks. So obviously you can't focus on all of them. The easiest way you can look at the one to focus on is basically sort them by what is basically youngness of the trend. Basically, in order to do that, like say this is a column which tells you how many days it had trend intensity of 105 in last 252 days. So this is a stock which just acquired, say this is because it is just going sideways. That's the wrong kind of a situation. But this is going into liquidity. But like look at TI65 bullish. Now what you'll see is once you sort it by this particular column, which is the and I will move this column to this side for easy. Okay, so what you have to do is look at like say something like this. Anyway, has an established momentum. It like lost momentum for a few days, and we already have a position in that stock. The reason being that it had a 4% breakout. Also, if you see like here 4% breakout here, and that's the stock which I bought yesterday. But like here you have stock which is gaining momentum, Here is a stock which is gaining momentum, which had a momentum, lost momentum for some time now. That's the kind of stock to focus on, because if it sets up again, that's the stock which is likely to make a big move. Or this is a stock which is recently, only today, has gone about trend intensity of 105. So if you look at, like, say, this particular stock again gaining momentum, so these are the stocks which have just in the last 10 or 15 days acquired momentum, are the one to focus on for likely setups, because those are the one which are likely to make big moves. And within that, what you can do is, like, you can select, say, you can decide to select stock which had a trend intensity above 105, which was acquired in the last 20 days, supposing, let's say that's a 1 month kind of a period. Okay, and what we can do is we can flag all of them, flag all symbols above this item. Okay, copy flagged to new personal watch list, and say TI65 young. Okay, and now if you go to that particular TI65 young list, okay, you have these stocks which had, like, say, trend intensity of 105 in last 20 days. Now, how do you prioritize this? There are too many stocks to look at. The easiest way is, again, sort them by TI65 and focus on the one which has the highest TI65. So a stock which takes off with a high speed will have high trend intensity. So they went about trend, or this is an example. This is a buyout anyway, so which is not a good example. But like, this is a stock which is basically acquired trend intensity. Not only did it acquire trend intensity, but it had a high speed. So that is why it is ranked high. Similarly, like, we had a position in this and we did make money in this particular stock, or I did make money in this stock. Now it has a trend intensity, and it is a young trend, but it has a high trend intensity. So sort it by that criteria, and you will find the fastest moving stock. See, this is something which, to, if it breaks out, I would definitely be a buyer on that as a continuation setup. But the stocks, like, say, the top 25 or 30 stocks or 50 stocks which have young trend and high momentum are the one which are likely to make the biggest move in the next YTD period. So those are the stocks to focus on. Like, say, something like this is obviously your number one anticipation candidate currently, or even Grubhub, which had a recent earnings. So if you want to find stocks which are making big moves, or which are likely to make big moves in the next 6 months or next 1 month or 3 months, focus on stocks which have a trend intensity of 105. And this particular thing tells you when the trend is young, basically when in the last 25 days it goes above trend intensity of 105 is what it tells you. Like, say, here this was a young trend, and then that is the way you can find younger trends. That is because you want to enter these kind of moves early in their period when they acquire momentum, and this is a visual way of finding out when the trend has just started. For those of you who are interested and those who don't know what these are basically like conditions which look for momentum. So this is momentum on 65 days time frame. This is a stock which had a momentum above 105, but didn't had a momentum of 105 in the last 25 days. So it acquired momentum in last 25 days, or in other words, it's a young candidate, young momentum candidate which has just acquired. So you want to get into a momentum trend early, then that is how you can use that scan to find stocks which are just acquired momentum. So hopefully this video will give you some idea as to what is the characteristics of stocks which makes big moves. And as we saw, characteristics of a stock which makes big move, if you want to find them and if you want to trade them, the number one criteria you should be focusing on is momentum, and second criteria is focus on 4% breakouts, because any move which is going to be a big move is going to start with a 4% breakout. And if you can do a good job of that every day, your probability increases of getting into moves which are big moves. Any other criteria which you hear about, or any other model which talks about biggest winning stocks as this characteristics or that characteristics, you can check it for yourself. You don't have to take anybody's word for it. You look at the actual stocks which are there, and you can look at their performance for last 1 year and do your own YTD ranking for 2016, and see whether they actually had those criterias which people tell you are the criterias which should be present in a stock which makes a big move. If they are not there, and if this is what is the truth, then you should be focusing on what works rather than what sells and what people believe is really what drives stocks behavior. What drives stocks behavior is not necessarily those criteria which people say should be there in the stock. Because if that was true, you would have found that IBD 50 should be having like 50 stocks in the top 100 stocks, or like at least 30, 40 of the stocks should be in that, or from a list like IBD 85, which has all the growth characteristics like EPS is about 25% or 30%, and sales is about 25 and 30%, has less than 10% of the stocks in 100 stocks which outperform the market. So if you're looking for stocks to outperform, look for momentum, look for stocks which are breaking out, look for stocks in the biotechnology, drug sector, because they tend to make big moves, technology sector. And these are the 3 or 4 criteria. If you build and lower price stocks, if you build your strategy, or if you really want to make money, if that is what you focus on, you will increase the probability of finding big winners. So that's the lesson from looking at top 100 stocks. And you can do this every month, and you can do this study for different time periods, and I'm sure that you will come to conclusions which are similar to the conclusion which we came to today. And you can also go back in the database and look at the video which I did a couple of months on the same YTD kind of a thing, where I said like the same thing, and I said it based on the same kind of sorting which we did, and we said look at these are the criteria to look at, and not focus on things like IBD and other stuff. Hopefully you would have found something which will make you money if you really apply this in your trading. And if you do that, your probability of finding big winners will be much higher.